while you're going through all these transitions, everybody you're going to be competing against are going to be people doing online courses. The problem is when you're going through learning online courses and people are learning on their own, you're competing against people who never gained real world experience, which transitions really well over to this article that talks about using simulations. Now, despite the massive industry wide investment, one study determined that 75% of senior managers at organizations were dissatisfied with their learning and development initiatives. Essentially, they're trying to train entry level employees and it just wasn't working. Now, Gardner reports that 70% of employees feel like they lack the skills required to do their jobs. Now, these are three systematic reasons for this paradox. Number one, most people were used to learning in a classroom scenario, not on the job. Number two, a failure to recognize the importance of peer learning and modeling behavior. Most adults learn best by watching how their peers perform tasks. And number three, a lack of ongoing feedback, right? Most managers are not giving them feedback. We're seeing that here again from Harvard Business Review. Now, what's really interesting is for you to gain the professional skills to really stand out in the interview process, and again, what we learned here, right? How do you become that top talent for entry-level jobs? How do you become those guys? Because they're never going to struggle to get jobs. How do you do that? Well, number one, you become great at decision-making and collaborating. And number two, you get and become great at managing change, right? You're going to be told to do one thing one day, and they may completely change the project 2 months later and say, hey, actually, we need to do this now. I know as a CEO, I'm doing this frequently within our organization, potentially every 1 to 2 months. Because guess what? We're a small to medium-sized business, right? We've done about $15 million in revenue to date. We're not backed by a bunch of investors, right? We're having to bootstrap this entire thing. And if we feel like we need to make a change, we have to make that change fast. And guess what? The vast majority of you watching this video, you're going to go work for small to medium-sized business owners, CEOs just like myself, right? Managers just like the managers that I have here. And one of the things that matters the absolute most is knowing that we could change things. You have the ability to adapt. You have the ability to learn new skills because maybe one day we need a new form of internal tool that requires a different language and you have to go get that, right? Maybe one day for our marketing team, we decide, hey, listen, we want to launch a webinar. You have to go learn how to do that. Can we rely on you to do that? Do you have a background to show that you have the ability to learn new skills at a very fast rate? Most people don't know how to do that, which leads to this last point real quickly. Now, this is talking about how you need a skills-based approach to hiring and developing talent, not focusing on education. Now, we're going to briefly cover these aspects. The economic toll of the 2019 pandemic is expected to leave more than 140 million people out of work and another 1.6 million at risk of income loss, right? And what we're seeing here is that the economy is shifting to skills-focused approach is more and more important rather than education, right? Workers often don't realize, by the way, this is something we teach, and this is called interest alignment. And this is something that we coach on our back end portion. And it's that a lot of you are coming from careers where you feel like, I've been a teacher. How does this tie in whatsoever with becoming a software engineer? We have a student that came to us who was a teacher making maybe $50,000 to maybe $45,000 a year because teachers aren't paid a lot, and is now working, I believe it's either Intuit or one of those programs, is making around $150,000 a year. And he was initially thinking, how am I supposed to make this transition? And we had to teach him, hey, listen, right? What you're doing right now is actually perfect for the environment you're going into because you're having to collaborate with people, you're having to work with parents, kids, everything across the board. You are remarkable collaborating and working on project management. You just need the hard skills. This is actually going to be a much easier transition for you. And in addition, you understand the importance of really good structure to help make sure that everybody's able to work on something together. Now, scrolling down, there's something I really want to talk to all of you about, right? And this is from a survey that was done a while back. LinkedIn has seen a 21% increase in job postings, advertising skills and responsibilities instead of qualifications requirements in the US. Look at this. This has dropped to where a degree or requirements for a degree increased by nearly 40% in 2020 compared to 2019. So what you're seeing here for the first time and how this really matters, if you were somebody wanting to make a career transition, you don't need a degree, right? You don't need to have tons a formal experience. What you need is number one, a great mentor. You need a solid curriculum. You need a great mentor, and you need to be able to go out and find freelance work.